There we go.
There we go.
All right.
Yep. Here we
Cable,
are.
we're in the same checkerboarded room, but we're
not
in the same,
in the same room.
room. Man.
The trippy.
Yeah, it's the same setting. We
Hold on.
took the same picture as our background, I think is what it
Yep.
was.
Yep. Coming to you live
from
Orlando, Florida.
Yeah,
Lake Buena Vista.
Lake Buena Vista. Yeah, we're in Disney country here.
Yep.
We've got our Best Hour Affiliate University Mastermind this weekend. So super stoked to get to see people, get to shake hands, kiss babies, do all the fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oddly enough, the disaster that is traveling currently, I feel like, I guess the travel wasn't quite as bad last year when we did it in January in Nashville, but the weather was almost equally as crappy. This is
really
wild.
I wasn't at the January one in Nashville, so I can't speak to that.
It was cold and snowy, just similar to this, but man, I think travel's been terrible. It's been tough. How was it for you yesterday?
It actually was, ironically, with all the snow and craziness, everything went completely smoothly. My flights were on time. My second one was delayed a little bit, but not by too much. And it was fine. Yeah. Weirdly enough, I've had far worse travel. So yeah, you like that? Like this background?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. we're flipping the wrong things.
Hey,
good morning.
Omar, good morning.
Good morning, Omar. Yeah. Like, look at the checkerboard. I almost wore that exact same sweatshirt. So I'm glad I just went with the t-shirt instead, where I'm kind of matching.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. Pat, snow tires, Florida. If you guys haven't seen the footage of all the snow in the panhandle, it's wild. People here are melting. They're freaking out. So what else we got? Yeah, back-to-back rooms.
It does look like that. Here, ready? Wouldn't that be weird if my hand, I don't know if that's the same that everyone else is seeing, but got that checkerboard background. Pretty good. Did it snow in St. Augustine?
No. Oh, okay. No, it's just been cold and rainy and crappy, but no snow there. So
yeah, it snowed a bit in Virginia Beach. But by the time I left for the airport, the roads were all clear. It wasn't anything crazy. Enough to let the kids stay home from school.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we canceled school. All of that stuff happened where we were at too. But we're not here to talk about the weather.
Everybody else is talking about the weather.
Yeah, exactly.
It is typical Wadapalooza weather. I was at Wadapalooza last year and the year before, and I feel like it was freezing. There were days that it was really cold, both days, really cold and rainy, like unseasonably. Everybody kept talking about how it was unseasonably cold. But now at this point, it's like, I feel like it's no longer unseasonable. It's normal.
Yeah, it just is what it is. Yeah, rain's expected. The cold, not so much.
Yeah, but have fun at Wadapalooza.
Yeah.
Good times.
All right, but the topic at hand, lesson planning. So we talked last week about creating the stimulus of the workout and how you go about identifying that. Now we want to talk about creating a lesson plan. And so I'm curious to know, how do you go about it? Like, what is your go-to technique? What is your go-to strategy as far as lesson plans are concerned?
Well, first I figure out how long the workout's going to take. Like, bottom line, very first thing, establish the stimulus.
Interesting is why we would talk about that last
first
week.
Yeah.
Right.
And with that comes deciding the block of time that I'm going to use in my plan, right? So I typically, for ease, for simplicity, and just to give myself some buffer, if let's say we have a workout that's like 9 to 12 minutes, I always bump it up in a lot, 15 on my plan. So there's 15 minutes. And then I just do the what we call the inside out method, or outside in method.
Real quick. So you said if you think it's going to be 9 to 12 minutes, you go 15 minutes
on
your lesson plan.
On my lesson plan.
Tell me more about that. Why not just a hard 12-minute cap?
Well, because we want to recognize that if I'm looking for the stimulus to be between 9 and 12 for most people, there's likely going to be a couple outliers on either end that I'll be okay with. Like if somebody finishes in like 13 and a half or 14, then more than likely that'll be acceptable to me. And then that'll still keep me in that 15 minutes.
Why not a cap? Why not just, hey, 12 minutes, we're done?
Yeah. I am not a huge fan of putting a time cap in just to throw a time, like for lesson planning simplicity, because I think what ends up happening is so it can create situations where we're maybe not scaling our athletes properly because we know that there's a cap at 12 minutes and they're going to be done no matter what, versus trying to really figure out how we can get every athlete to do the complete workout and still hit that stimulus where we want it to be. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, same. I think I started coaching before time caps had even been
Me
like thought
too.
about.
Yeah,
And
they
so I
weren't
think,
really a thing.
yeah, I never really experienced that.
Which
And
is why I've definitely done some workouts that were supposed to be 10 minutes and it took me like 19 because there just wasn't a time cap. And we also didn't know how to scale correctly.
I
And so
didn't know
you
how to
just kind of
scale. And I
did it
thought,
until you finished.
yeah, it's
Yep.
like, this is the workout. This is what you guys all are doing. Pick a weight. Like it was pretty much like, let's not scale down to a weight that you can do the sets the way they are intended. It's like, what's the heaviest weight that you could still complete the workout in? And then let's see how long this takes.
Yep. Yep.
I think, to be perfectly honest, I think that's a big reason why time caps just never really were a thing of mine. It's because when I started coaching, we were doing CrossFit. I don't think that was a thing. And then to your point, it's like now it's a challenge for me to make sure that I can scale everybody appropriately so that they finish in that time frame. And we were actually talking about it I had my coach dev call yesterday where we were discussing our lesson on determining the stimulus. And I was making mention of the avatar that I'm thinking about is, all right, so I determine how long I think the workout should take based on like the high end level athlete. Like, what's this going to look and feel like for probably the best 2 or 3 athletes in my gym? But then from there, I create my range based on, so who is the quote unquote worst athlete I'm going to let do this workout as prescribed? And what do I expect it to look and feel like for them?
Mm-hmm.
So then all of a sudden it's like, now my range is there. If I think
Yeah.
it's, like you said, a 9-minute workout, but I'm going to let somebody chip through whatever this thing is and potentially still do it RX and finish in 12 and leave a little buffer if it ends up being 12:30, then cool. That's where I'm at with this thing. Let's look at it. We're getting some good comments here.
Yeah.
Omar Megan mentioned, yeah, like you got to have the buffer in there because everybody, has to run to the bathroom even after you give them the bathroom break. And then you say you get ready to say 3, 2, 1, go. And they're like, wait a second. I'm like, wait, I just gave you that.
I know. And I love when people have to run to the bathroom when it's like Fran or something. I'm like, y'all can't hold the bathroom for 5 minutes.
You'll be done. That's just, you're delaying.
Done in 5 minutes. You'll be fine.
Yeah. This is right. Does not
definitely
surprise me. Yeah, this was me in my early days. If you guys have heard me tell the story of my morning classes, which I'm sure some of you guys have, when I was coaching the morning class and I would walk into the gym about 3 minutes before class started, and that would be the first time that I saw what the workout was. That was pretty much exactly it.
And I'm laughing because I have also been guilty of this for sure. No longer, I can say.
Yeah,
I definitely plan it out a little bit more now. But yeah, I think this is a good question because just we'll pull back to this question, but I just want to share this one really quick. It's kind of the follow-up. A lot of coaches don't lesson plan, have an idea of what they want and wing it every class. So what do you think? What do you think, Todd? Laziness? What do you guys think in the comments? I think
yeah, I'd be curious to know. So I think nowadays there's a few things. One, most coaches that I talk to at their affiliates, they're following a program that provides a lesson plan. So they don't have to do so because they're given one. And it's like, hey, we follow Cap. Cap laid out this lesson plan. I'm just going to stick to that and we're going to go from there. Or the owner of the gym gives me a lesson plan and I'm going to stick to that. And so a lot of times, I think some people aren't given the freedom to make the adjustments that they want to, and they've got to stick to that lesson plan. And that's part of it.
I agree with this one here too from Amit.
With
overconfidence in their own abilities, and that pairs directly with they don't know what they don't know, right? And I think that both of those things are very true. It's just kind of like, I've been coaching for a while, I kind of have a general idea, I know my class structure, and you just kind of go in and essentially wing it a little bit. And fortunately or unfortunately, many times the class turns out fine, right? You end on time, everybody gets a good workout. But if you were really going to break it down and evaluate what happened, was it really the best class you could have run? Probably not even close, just based on a lack of planning.
And here's where I see to get back to the original questions, like, why do I think people aren't doing it? Aren't diligent about it. I just don't think that they see it as a priority.
Mm-hmm.
They're either taking one that they are given and then they don't think much beyond that, or they don't see it as a priority. And a lot of people, it's like a part-time gig that they coach 2 classes a week and they don't have a lot of extra hours that they're going to put into this. And I think sometimes people think that lesson planning is this big, long, cumbersome task. And like if we had DT on here and we let her talk about lesson planning, it's like a 60 to 90 minute process where she loves it. She dives into it. She's writing everything. She's thinking through everything. Whereas on the flip side, we pull Pete in here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys haven't seen his video where he talks about the napkin timeline, you need to take a look at that. And we'll find it. Cody, if you could find that on CrossFit Training, the napkin timeline by Pete, and drop it into the comments, that'd be helpful. But he does it in literally like less than 5 minutes. Like 3 minutes or less. And so, why are people not diligent about it? I don't know. They just aren't a lot of times. And so, like, to Omar's question right here, if you get sent a workout last minute, how long does it take you to write a lesson plan on the fly? Like, it really should not take you much longer than 5 minutes, probably closer to 3 minutes. And to go back to where you were headed with this thing, when I asked the first question of your approach, if we think about a timeline, once we figure out how long the workout's going to take, what the stimulus is, and then how much we want to allot for that, it's pretty easy. And the way Pete does this in the napkin timeline is he always goes 10 minutes at the end for a cool down. He goes 10 minutes for the whiteboard brief and the general warm up. Then you block off how long the workout's going to take. And so say, like you said, it's a 9 to 12 minute workout, but you're going to go 15 minutes. So now I'm going to go 15 minutes back from the 50-minute mark because I wanted to leave 10 minutes for my cool down. So that puts me at 35 minutes. Knowing that I went 10 minutes on the front end of whiteboard brief and general warm-up, now I know I've got 25 minutes for my specific warm-up, any sort of transitions that are going to happen there, any sort of loading or build up, a practice round, and a bathroom break. And it's like, cool, I got 25 minutes to make this happen. And even like that much time of what I just talked to through this, even if you think about it that much, you're going to be way more prepared than you would otherwise if you're like just doing it on the fly.
Yeah, honestly, the thing that takes me the longest is figuring out how I'm going to fit all of the things I want to do in the specific warm-up into the time that I have for the specific warm-up. That's the most time consuming for me. Like, okay, I have this progression, but I'm looking here and it's like, oh, I don't really have time to do that. To your point, Todd, I've got to block that. I'm blocking that. I'm blocking that. And you block everything, and then it whittles down how much time you have for that specific warm-up. And then that's what I have to work with. And so that's really also, to me, the benefit of taking the time to practice doing these plans, because then it really makes you think through, all right, today I only have time to do a 3-step progression. What are my primary focus points going to be for that 3-step progression? And it just really peels some layers back on the coaching process and gives you a little bit more of a little bit more like specifics to focus on during that coaching time, because you don't have a lot of time. So it's like, how can I use that time I do have most efficiently? And it's going to change depending on the workout.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things here. Extra sloppy talks about it being a lack of virtuosity if somebody's not willing to put in the work. And to Chris's point, and this is a big piece, if you don't have a lesson plan, you're not prepared for things, you're going to get rattled. Something's going to pop up. Inevitably, in every single class, something pops up that you're not expecting. The number of people, somebody's injury, something going on. And if you're not prepared for that, like, you're going to get flustered. And when you get flustered and you're trying to solve the problem on the fly, typically you're not present. You're thinking about what you're going to do, and you're either not able to connect with the athletes that you have in front of you. You're not able to see and correct. You forget what your progression is going to be. Like there's a ton of that stuff that if you don't spend the time planning and preparing, it's just going to lead to less confidence in what you're doing and ultimately like less being actually present and doing the thing.
Yeah, and having the plan doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to go exactly according to plan. But just having it there is something to keep you anchored to it so that you don't have to have, like, there's a lot of bandwidth that needs to happen during that class, right? And so if we can plan some things prior, then that just takes some brain space away that you can focus on the things at hand. So I always like to look at it. I just imagine it as like a boat with an anchor, right? Like you have your boat and you're anchored, and depending on the water or the wind or the tides, like the boat's going to kind of like drift away from the anchor periodically, but the lesson plan is what keeps you anchored there. And I think when you don't have the lesson plan, you can get distracted and something's going on, and all of a sudden you look up and you have no idea where you are. And then it's like now everything you wanted to do goes out the window, and the priority is just like getting the workout executed and getting everybody out on time.
Yeah. Cody makes mention it's like they're simply herding cats for 60 minutes. Not what we want to be doing there. I think there's a couple cool things here. Angelo talks about asking new coaches to create their own workouts or looking at the given notes or potentially your own lesson plans. I know for my coaches, they all have the freedom to take the warm-up, the specific warm-up, and run with it for themselves. It's like we typically all follow, like our early morning coach will create like a general warm-up. We have an idea of what the specific warm-up is, and then obviously we know the workout and the stimulus and all that stuff's there. But every coach has the freedom to make any adjustments on their own, because I want them to put some time in before class, and I want them to feel comfortable and confident in what they're doing with this. So empowering your new coaches or any coach to make any adjustments needed so they feel comfortable and they're prepared for it, that makes a big difference. Ryan makes mention of one of the things that lead to better long-term retention of members will show a coach who can vary progressions from time to time to keep the process different. So I think there's value in that one of like, can you teach things different ways? And this is ironic for us or me to say, because how often do we drill in memorizing the progression steps, knowing the points of performance, getting really, really good at teaching things one specific way?
Yeah, but if you can do that, then again, that's the foundation. And now I have the freedom to adjust, change it a little bit, because I'm so dialed in to the big picture basics.
You have to do that first, though. It's like you've got to be married to memorizing this stuff and being able to present and teach the progressions. And then once you get comfortable with that, that's just like we talked about the flexibility that having a lesson plan gives you in class, because now you're confident in what you're doing. It's like once I've taught the push press, 100 times using the dip and hold, dip drive slow, dip drive fast, full push press, now I'm so confident in the progression and why and when to do it, I can make adjustments based on who's in front of me. And so once you've got your feet underneath you with teaching this stuff, then switching and trying different progressions or looking at the athletes in front of you and adjusting to them, I think is huge, but only comes once you have the foundation of teaching the way that you have and knowing that stuff. Let's see. Yes, right here. I like this, Chris. I think if coaches get through classes without any problems, they will overlook lesson planning and think of it as unnecessary. It's right. You run 2 or 3 good classes that you didn't really prepare for because the workouts are pretty simple. Like you think about something, you're like, what if we're doing Helen? Cool. You run, you come in, you do kettlebell swings, you go to the pull-up bar, you do pull-ups. I know what I'm going to teach. I know how long that workout's going to take. Logistically, there's not a lot there. It's like run out that door, come back in this door, go to your pull-up bar. Like there's not much happening there. You can probably get away with not lesson planning that. But if you think that you're really good because of that, and you're like, now I've got it. I nailed Helen. This is awesome.
3 people got a PR. It was fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
There was no interference. Nothing happened. And then all of a sudden you've got a partner workout that has rowers, barbells, and wall ball shots. And instead of the 14 people you expected to show up into class, you've got 26 people. And now there's not enough space on the floor for everybody to have a barbell and all the rowers to be out. And you've got to think through, all right, how am I going to teach this barbell movement to everybody in class when I can't get, 30 or 26 barbells out on the gym floor with the rowers that are out and where the wall balls are going to be? If you haven't thought that through beforehand, it's not going to go well. And I think that's one of the things, like, it's the logistics of class that are the bigger things that end up going wrong when people haven't lesson planned, from my experience. What would you say is like the biggest issue when people aren't lesson planning, even for like experienced coaches, not just brand new coaches?
Yeah, I definitely think logistics, because you can try to do something on the fly, like, all right, and you can always tell whenever I take a class that it wasn't planned out. You can tell, and it just feels, and I don't know if I've got more of like a keen eye for it, but it just feels sloppy, right? Where it's like, all right, guys, like anytime that happens, I'm like, there's no plan, right? We're like, let's go ahead and get the barbells. Let's put them over, and then everyone gets their barbells out. And then it's just a mess because there was no plan on, okay, the barbells are out, but now where are we going to put the boxes? Okay, guys, now I need you to move the barbells over here so we can so yeah, the logistics for sure. And again, I think it really affects the quality of the coaching, especially during the specific warm-up, if there's not a plan, because now the bandwidth is likely going more towards setup and logistics and safety and all that stuff. And there may not even be thinking about a progression or how I'm going to teach this, and it's like, all right, Helen, go ahead, grab your kettlebell, go ahead and give me 3 kettlebell deadlifts. Cool. Now give me 5 swings. Awesome. Now let's go over the pull-up bar. Like, how often have you seen the kettlebell taught like that? It's like, all right, they're going to do a progression, some kettlebell deadlifts, and then now we get the full movement and we're done. No teaching, no like tips. And so logistics, and then also just, I think, a lack of teaching as effectively as we can, like giving our athletes just little tiny nuggets of how to do it better, what to think about to do it better, some strategies for the workout. A lot of that goes away if there's not a thought out plan, because you've got to focus on a lot of other things that are happening in real time that you haven't prepped for.
Yeah. And to your point, like the logistics piece, we're moving boxes, we're moving bars, like how much standing around is happening, and just how good of an experience is that? When we're standing, we do a couple things, we warm up, the coach sets you up, and then they're like, ooh, that sucks, let me move it again. And
people can feel that, like your members can feel that, whether they get a good workout in or not, and they're high-fiving each other and everybody's happy and they come back the next day. Like you can sense when people are like, this feels unorganized, or why are they putting the boxes there? And that's not what you want, right?
Yeah. Ryan talking about, you start with the stimulus, and then you talk about how do we get there, right? And so we discussed that a lot last week when we were talking stimulus. I like this right here, extra sloppy. Like, how often have you seen this happen where you've got a workout, you're not lesson planned, things go off the rails, you're trying to solve for the logistical issues, and in your mind you're like we had a workout 2 days ago, yesterday, something like that had sumo deadlift high pulls and wall ball shots. Clearly the thing to teach is the sumo deadlift high pull, but if you get thrown off and you're not prepared for this stuff, and you spend your time teaching the sumo deadlift high pull, and then you look at your clock and you're like, oh crap, I'm running out of time, this is a 20-minute workout, logistically things are a mess. All right, guys, you get the bar loaded up for the sumo deadlift high pull and you've not done a single wall ball shot. And as simple as that seems, to his point, there are people in class that have never done that before, or they don't remember what it is.
Okay, let me ask you a question. We're evaling in class. You're evaling in class.
Yep.
And the person crushes the sumo deadlift high pull progression. Just like solid progression, lots of teaching and seeing, static, dynamic, and they completely forget to cover the wall ball, and they have to start the workout. Thumbs up or thumbs down for the class?
Well, I mean, I don't look at, there's no such thing as like just completely thumbs up or
bad.
thumbs
You're
down,
fired,
right?
or you can stay.
Yeah, exactly. That's not going to happen. But that does need to be called out and mentioned. And
there's
a
thumbs up and a thumbs down for the level 4 eval.
Oh, okay. So if it's
right,
that, yeah.
and that's not what I was asking, but
okay, I was gonna say, if you don't cover the wall ball, the range of motion, you don't have them do practice skips, there's no chance you're passing the level 4. By the way,
but to what we're talking about here, it's just your coach at your gym, you're watching their class, they put so much emphasis and priority to the sumo deadlift high pull. They do a really great job, but then because they didn't really plan everything out, the wall ball happens. They didn't even touch the wall ball. They didn't even talk about it. I mean, that's something that you'd have to talk to them about. Yeah.
100%. I give this, and I tell this story quite often at level 2s, where I'm like, to give the reality. I think a lot of times coaches just assume that athletes have been with you for a while. They know this stuff. And it's like, oh, they know where their feet go when they squat. They know what this movement's called. I don't really need to teach the wall ball. Everybody knows what that one is. And, I make mention, it's like, I was so fortunate. I convinced my mom to start doing CrossFit in 2009. So she has now been doing CrossFit for going on, 16 years, something like that. There's not many people when we're at level 2s that have been doing CrossFit that long. There's probably not all that many people listening to this that have been doing that. She started in Colorado at a different gym. She's now at my gym where I'm at. She usually comes to a class that I'm not at the gym for. I know what the workout is, but inevitably when I talk to her and I'm like, oh, how was class? How was the workout? All knowing what the workout was, she's like, oh man, it was so hard. I'm like, yeah, what did you do? Oh, we did that thing where the bar goes from the ground to your shoulders and then we throw the ball against the wall. Oh, I hate those. They're so hard. I'm like, she's been doing CrossFit for 16 years.
16 years. That thing where the bar goes from the ground to your shoulders and then you put it overhead.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like, that is most of our members, where they don't care as much as we do. Yeah. Absolutely it is. Yeah. But for us to assume as coaches that, oh, well, you've been doing this for 1 year, you know all this stuff, I don't need to teach you that. I don't need to go over the wall ball shot. That's such an easy, quote unquote, easy thing. Like, that's just not true. And so you can't fall into that trap.
Yes. And this 100%. I mean, it's like, yeah, even if they know what a wall ball is, we still want to warm the movement up, like make sure that everybody's good with, squatting below parallel. The weight is what they want it to be, get the shoulders warmed up a little bit, like for sure. Right. I mean, the first box jump I do for the workout, I don't want it to be during the workout. Like, I need to warm it up a little bit.
Yeah, I see Pat's off stage with Cody right there. You said box jump, and that could take us down a whole other rabbit hole, but we will.
Well, you guys know I like to just like sprinkle in talking about box jumps here and there just to. So yeah, if you're listening, Todd's gym doesn't do box jumps, which is fine. Pat Barber does not think it's fine. I think it's fine.
That's a discussion for another day, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what I've got.
Guys, they still get a jumping stimulus.
We jump over PVs
on top of the box.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What do we have going on here? Let's see. That's how we write workouts during Friends Week. 10 lay on the ground and then stand up and celebrate. Yeah, exactly. That looks like a burpee, right?
Lay on the ground and stand up. Yeah. Fall to the ground and stand up. Clap overhead. The end. Most definitely not fine. We're not going to let this rabbit hole derail us.
Nope. But here's what I am going to do. All right. I'm going to throw a workout at you, Kabo, and you're going to talk us through your lesson plan. We had aspirations of having a screen to where we could show Kabo writing this out. We're not technologically, we're not there yet, but hopefully soon. But yeah, here's what we've got.
We will figure it out for a future time, and it's going to be super cool.
So this is a CrossFit workout, CrossFit.com 2 days ago.
I cannot read it. Hold on.
As many reps as possible. So this is an AMRAP. So this is going to be an easy one for you. I'm going to give you a more challenging one in a second. But
why you take the more challenging one? I'll do the easy one.
As many rounds and reps as possible in 18 minutes of a 400-meter run, 30 GHD sit-ups, 20 box jumps, 10 power cleans at a pretty heavy weight, 205 pounds for the gentlemen, 145 for the ladies. What do we got for our lesson plan? And this is a layup because it's an AMRAP. So we do have a hard time cap.
Okay. So 18 minutes lesson plan. You want me to just go through it like kind of a quick, almost like that back of the napkin, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go 10 minutes on the end. Help me with the math, Todd, as I do this. Okay. So I'm going to go 10 minutes on the back end for my cool down. I'm going to go, I can just do the 10 minutes on the front end for the whiteboard and warm up, because typically what I try to do is a 3-minute whiteboard breathe, 7-minute general warm up. And sometimes that can turn into 5 and 5. Either way, it's still a 10-minute block. Okay.
Sure.
From there, I'm going to go 20 minutes on the way that I write my plan, even though this is an 18-minute.
Ooh.
Because stick with me. So I'm at 50 minutes. So then 20 minutes would be 30. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So on my plan, I'm like, all right, that's that 30-minute. And then that leaves me, I'm going to do a couple minutes break right before for the bathrooms. So that's probably 22, 23. So then that leaves me from minute 10 to minute 22, 23. Yeah, for my general. Or
so if you're going backwards and you're taking 20 minutes for your workout, from 50 minus 20 get you to 30 minutes. And so if you want to add 3 minutes of bathroom at the front of that, that means 27.
That's why I need you to help me with my math.
27 or 28.
Yes. So then I'm from minute 10 to minute, like, let's say 27 or let's say 28. Okay.
Yep.
For my specific. So that's 18 minutes. Yes. 18 minutes. And then after I have that big picture, that's where I'll be like, all right, well, really, I'll probably have a little more buffer here for the pre-bathroom break. So I know that my workout actually has to start at 20 or 32 minutes is like my hard drop time is the 32 minutes. So the reason I said stick with me is that when I do it like big picture, I like to do just like more even blocks. And then once I get that, then I almost take like, okay, now I take a step in and I can see where the minute here can change up a little bit. Now I'm not quite done yet, because
now we got 18 minutes and we got 4 movements in this workout. So where do you go from there?
Yeah. So I will likely include the run in my general warm up. What else we have?
GHD sit-ups.
Okay. And it's a heavier clean, right? Tell me the weights again. It's tiny. 145 for the girls. For the
145 and 205. So definitely a heavier weight.
Yeah. And so the primary amount of time is going to be spent on the power cleans. That's going to be done last. And so what I'm going to likely do there is take, I wish I had it in front of me on a paper. It's okay. I'm going to take whatever time I need to be done with the warm up. So that would be like my bathroom break. And then I'll allot probably 10 minutes to the power clean warm up, progression, and then loading. And then that's giving me 8 minutes ish for my GHG sit-ups and box jumps. So I'll do a quick box jump progression. I'll probably split that half and half. And I will likely also include some like box step ups during general warm up too. So I'll try to get some of those basic kind of like lead ups in the progression done in my general warm up to make sure I cover all 4 movements, but I prioritize that power clean to give everybody enough time to get loaded up on the bar.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
So you look at these movements, it's like, wow, we got 4 movements here. But like you said, the run, hey, you can have them run. And yes, should we teach running technique? Absolutely. On this specific day, probably I'm not going to allot my time to that. So similar to you, the step ups and even maybe potentially box jumps in a general warm up, or at least some sort of jumping to start to prime that stuff in the general warm up is going to accomplish the task of the general warm up. Also get your athletes prepped and kind of start to mix in some specific skills and warm up there. And
Ooh.
I also like the fact that you talked about splitting the group between the box jumps and GHD sit-ups, because most gyms don't have a ton of GHDs and you don't want a bunch of people waiting around and standing there. And so if it's like, hey, I did some jumping in the general warm-up, but now that we're starting our specific warm-up, hey, half of you guys are going to come with me. I'm going to teach you specifically on the GHD sit-up. The other half, you guys are going to start, increasing the height of your jumps or whatever that is and accumulating some reps. I don't necessarily need to watch that because the GHD is going to be more important there. Cool. And then, like you said, 10 minutes for the power clean. The cool part about the power clean is you can streamline the progression there. I mean, I could teach that and probably would teach that in 3 steps, but you do need more time for the actual loading. So
this is a great workout to have as our example as well, for the logistical challenges. And if you don't have a plan, like what a mess this would be, splitting people up. I saw that. Yes.
DT. Yep. She's about out.
Oh, I love
Guess what?
Denise. I love you're joining us on the lesson plan. I don't know if you saw earlier, but we were talking about all of your lesson planning and giving you bunches of shout outs.
Yeah, we need to have you on for this one soon.
But yeah, if you don't have a plan for this one, like what a mess this would be if you have all of your athletes and all of a sudden you've got boxes that need to go on the floor and you've got barbells and you have 4 GHDs and everybody's standing around trying to wait their turn. And then what is the other thing that you're likely going to have to consider if you have GHD sit-ups at a high volume in the workout?
Yeah.
Like scaling people, right?
Oh,
like I'm not having everybody do 30 GHD sit-ups. So are we cutting the reps there? Are we doing partial? Are we taking people off the GHD? They're not even going to get on the GHD. And all of that has to be done in the planning process.
But the workout says 30 GHD sit-ups though.
That's what I said.
That's what it says.
That's
what the workout is.
I'm picking up what you're doing. Yeah. Sorry.
That
little sarcasm wasn't coming across on the video.
Look at how this is great. I love this lesson plan right here. He's got everything broken out, and I think this is a home run. And he obviously did this as we were talking, and look at how effective that is. Like that, just take that amount of time. Take that amount of time and we're good to go.
Yep. 4 minutes on the box jumps, 4 minutes on the GHD, power cleans. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. Equipment put away and high fives, done and dusted. Yep. I would maybe want a little more if we're going to get picky.
On what? A little more what?
On the cool down, probably. Because if I'm only allotting for 3 minutes for the cool down.
I don't think you looked at his right then.
Oh, I didn't. 57 to...
Cool down is 50 to 57 with 3 minutes of equipment.
Thank you.
Away.
Yeah.
So he has the full 10 minutes there.
Yeah. I should have trusted that he was going to get that.
Yeah. Come on.
Crush that. Yeah. Good job, Emmett.
Ryan gives us a good general warm up. And I like the AMRAP. Oftentimes, if you do the hey, do 3 rounds of this, well, the pace that people are going takes them forever. So if we make it AMRAP 6 minutes, run, step ups, sit ups, good mornings, you look at this, cool, we're stepping up. We're starting to get ready for those box jumps, sit-ups. We're starting to get the core ready for the GHD sit-ups. And then the good mornings, we're starting the hinge that's going to be necessary and priming the posterior chain for the power cleans. Love it.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I actually was going to skip this one, but now that I think about it, this one might actually be a better one to talk about. We got time to talk about 2 of those.
All right.
Two more workouts.
So you go through your process on this one then.
Well, it says the workout of the day is complete as many reps as possible in 10 minutes of calories on the Echo bike. So it's a 10-minute workout.
Well, I'm skipping that day, so I don't need to.
I'm actually
that would be the day that I'm going to coach, so I don't have to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to actually put this workout first. We're going to do this workout first, and then we'll finish with 10 minutes on the Echo bike.
You're combining them?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, that's
yes.
Realistic.
Now, here's the deal with this is pretty cool because this is a 10-minute workout. You think about the Echo bike itself, how much coaching and skill development is necessary and needed for the Echo bike workout here. Probably not a ton. Let me make sure that the seat is set up at the right height, which oddly enough is something that I don't think enough people teach or enough athletes do correctly. But beyond that, it's like you could do some sort of like kind of inverse Tabata or Tabata style warm up, having people use their arms, then just their legs and kind of combine it together. But even still, you would still potentially have a ton of time left. So this is one of those workouts that, in my opinion, would be a great opportunity for a skill day.
Okay.
And so if we're doing this, I'm going to do the same napkin timeline. We got our 60 minutes. I'm going 10 minutes at the end for our cool down. I'm going 10 minutes at the beginning for my whiteboard brief of 3 minutes, 7 minutes of a general warm up. Now I've got 10 minutes of this workout that I'm going to plug in there somewhere. Typically that's from 40 to 50, but I'm going to tell you there's some variability on that, and I'll explain why in just a second. But what that does is it gives me 20 extra minutes on this specific day. And so here's the way that I would look at this. One, I would need to consider how many bikes we have and how many athletes, and potentially do heats where one athlete goes on the bike while the other athlete, a partner, is doing something different. So I need to consider that. And then I also want to consider, if I'm going to add a skill, do I want them to work on, them being my athletes, to work on the skill fresh, low heart rate, or do I want them to work on it a little bit exhausted, so post workout itself? To be honest with you, probably go ahead.
Go ahead. You say your thought, and then I'll ask if you might be about to answer it.
I would probably, on this specific day, I would want to challenge a skill post echo bike calories.
Yeah, and so if you really are doing 10 minutes hard on the echo bike, and then you do I can just imagine how you're feeling when you get off that bike. So,
well, I'll be honest with you. I think 10 minutes on the echo bike is an quote unquote easier workout, and I won't be as destroyed as 1 minute on the echo bike.
Yeah, that's a good point. But are you going to coach your people for the last minute to just send it?
I mean, yes, but after 9 minutes of riding the bike, how much sending is there to be done at minute 9?
Here's my point. In your plan, how much will you allot for transition of getting off the bike and finishing the workout before they start with the skill work? Or will that be like lumped into how much time they have with the skill work? Like you have 10 minutes to do this, and just however you're feeling, go.
I would take 10 minutes, to be honest with you, with the post. And here's how this would go down. So now let me build this out. So we've talked about some of the things to consider. So I'm going to go. So we already talked about, I got 10 minutes at the end. That's my cool down, my complete cool down. I've got 10 minutes at the beginning. So I'm going to go 3 minutes on the whiteboard brief. I'm going to go 7 minutes of specific, just kind of warming up for the bike. If I've got enough bikes as I have athletes in class. So we're going to do 7 minutes of some sort of like kind of intervals on and off, arms, legs, rest in between this stuff. We'll do that. That'll be all my general warm up of 7. And I'll actually probably push that out closer to the 15-minute mark, because I'm going to give them a little bit of a break and kind of get their heart rate up, get them moving through the bike. And then at minute 15 is when I'm going to start the 10 minutes on the bike.
Okay. So that is like, so your general is essentially your specific. Your general and your specific are combined, because you're going to be teaching teaching like positioning on the bike, and, just giving them some coaching tips during that time.
Yep. So we're going to start the workout at minute 15. That's going to take us to minute 25. When 25's over, I'm sure there's going to be some carnage. People are going to collapse off the bike, roll around for a second. I'm going to give them about 60 seconds to do that. And then we're going to get on our feet, and we're probably going to go for a 200-meter cool down walk, which will take us more than likely 5 or 6 minutes. We're going to come back in. I'm going to let them kind of gather themselves, get a water break. I'm going to get scores on the board. So I'm going to take another, I'm going to call it 5-ish minutes there. So we start at 15, that goes to 25. We do the cool down. I'm going to say it's 35 before we start the next skill. And on a day like this, Their legs are probably going to be a little bit toasted. Their lungs obviously have been working pretty hard. And so I would probably do some sort of upper body gymnastics movement. And more than likely, this would be a fun day, in my opinion, for some sort of handstand work. So this could either be handstand holds. This could be handstand walking. I'd probably pick one or two of those. And so I would start a second specific warm-up of, let's call it handstand walking. And I'd start doing some handstand walking drills around the 35-minute mark. I would probably do that until we get to about 42 or 43. Then I'm going to give them either time, 7 or 8 minutes of specific drills that I want them to do, or probably turn this into like an EMOM style thing. Hey, I want you to give, 3 attempts or handstand walk 20 feet on the minute every minute for 8 minutes. That's going to get us, if I give them 8 minutes and we started at 43, that's going to get us to 51. After we finish that, then we're actually going to do a good deliberate stretching, cool down, probably some couch stretch, roll out our thighs, our quads, and then work on our shoulders and arms a little bit and sit there and take the time to actually do that and discuss some things. So that's how I would approach this day in this workout.
And I like the skill work having that EMOM there kind of gives it a little bit more structure, so that you're not just, we've done the 10 minutes, we've walked around, we've cooled down. And oftentimes if you don't have that structure planned or that kind of group management, then people just kind of check out. And it's like, they're supposed to be spending, all right, guys, for the next 8 minutes, you're going to just spend 8 minutes working on whatever handstand. Maybe you're going to hold, maybe you're going to walk, whatever. And then oftentimes if you don't give them that structure, people just end up kind of chatting with each other and like standing around not doing it. So the EMOM's awesome. All right, question for you, follow-up question. Bicep curls for days.
I like this. And I like this. And even Ryan saying like max cal bike followed by matching.
We would do something like that at my gym. I can tell you.
Fantastic. And people get fired up when you add some of that old school gym stuff back in on occasion. And this could be a great day to do it. Maybe you don't want to do the handstand skill work. And we're going bro pump sesh.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're going to go bis and tris. And you take your time to do that. People would be fired up and they would love it. It'd be great.
Little banded tricep pull down, 100 reps, little skinny band.
There we go.
Okay. You don't have enough bikes.
Sweet.
Now what? Are you doing half the group is going to do the EMOM gymnastics, half the group is going to bike, and then you switch?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just recognizing that it's just going to be, as far as your plan to have everybody get their heart rate up and do the skill work after, it just is going to a little bit of a different.
Yeah, it's going to feel a little bit, but I think even the skill work, the approach of the handstand, because I'm avoiding the primary drivers of the bike workout. I don't think it has that much of an impact. I think the people that do the handstand EMOM beforehand they're going to be able to get as good of a score on the bike. Like imagine that was one of our benchmarks for the year. And we typically will have some sort of bike benchmark that we have to do something like this with. I don't think it's going to impact their score if they do it beforehand. I think if you do it post, it might be a little bit more challenging because you're a little bit more disheveled, after the bike. But once again, after 10 minutes after the bike, I think you're all right to do that as well. So yeah.
And you do the same thing if you did the curls or anything like that. I guess you couldn't do it if you did max cal followed by a matching number of curls.
Yeah, that one would be
out a
little bit different, right? Depending on what we were having them do. If their arms are completely, juiced before they get on the bike, that could impact what they do on the bike. So I would be very deliberate on what I decided to add as the accessory piece or the skill work.
I think this would be a fun option. Why not?
And I think it would be
yeah.
And in fact, you would make it more challenging the shorter the interval goes.
Yeah.
And we will do something like this oftentimes as a cash out after a heavy day. A lot of people are like, well, my members just don't think just lifting's enough. And I'm like, cool, that's fine. We're going to do a team bike race for 3 minutes. And so after your heavy day where we allotted, 47 minutes of the class to actually lifting and warming up and all of that. We're going to go over to the bike for 3 minutes. You're going to have 3 people. You can rotate whenever you want to, but you're going to go max calories in 3 minutes. And that is plenty devastating. So doing this for 15 minutes, as Pat throws up here, would be plenty devastating as well.
I like it.
And Pat asks, I bike with my arms on an Echo bike. There are times where my legs almost stop working, and I absolutely try to bike with my arms. So
for about
I go back and
4
forth.
seconds, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to rest
switch.
my arms, and I'm just going to use my legs. Okay,
Yeah,
now I'm going to rest my legs, and I'm just going to use my arms.
There is nothing more like hopeless for me than the middle of like a bike, any sort of bike challenge. Like if it lasts longer than 10 seconds at some point, I just feel hopeless.
Yeah.
People expend energy before the WOD might not be able to push the WOD as hard. Yeah, 0 energy. We're going to make sure that you've expended 0 energy before you start the workout, Ryan. I think that's the way we want to do this thing. All right. So we got time for one more workout. I'm glad I talked through this one because now I'm throwing this one back at you. And oddly enough, this is a workout. This is one of my favorite .com workouts, and potentially one that I have programmed the most at my affiliate as a direct reflection of CrossFit.com.
Oh,
here's what we got.
All right.
Shoulder press, push press.
Push press, push jerk. Okay.
Yep. Start with singles of the shoulder press, then it's triples of the push press, and then 5s of the push jerk.
Classic heavy day. The goal is to find a heavy. Yeah. So you're trying to find a heavy 1 rep max on the shoulder press, and then a heavy 3 on the push press, and then a heavy 5 on the push jerk. The writing, like you're sharing your screen, and it is so tiny.
I'm trying my best to expand it.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm just making sure I can read it right. This is interesting. I want to walk through this. So insert your thoughts like as I go, because I've actually never coached this workout. Like I've never created a plan for this workout. And so so this will be one of those things that I'm just kind of thinking through on the fly. And likely if I had a little bit more time, I'd probably go back and like adjust it a little bit. So let's do it. So first thing would be to figure out how much time I'm going to have my athletes spend on each one of these sections, right? So I'm thinking probably 30 minutes total, if not more. What do you think? 10 minutes. We're going to spend more on the push jerk, the least amount of time on the shoulder press, kind of split the difference on the push press. Go ahead.
No, I think 30 minutes is a pretty good range. And when we do something like this, it's usually like, hey, roughly 8 minutes for the shoulder press, 10 minutes for the push press, and that'll give you 12 minutes for the push jerk if you're doing it in 30. And you might even give a little extra buffer time because there's some people that will.
I got one more rep in me. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That felt like good. I want to do another set.
Yeah. And I am guilty of that. I fall into that all the time where I'm like, all right, this is my first working set. And it's really not a working set. It's still a warm up set. So then I usually will add one on at the end if I have time. And so to your point, kind of what was going on in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe I say like 30 minutes for all, but that doesn't mean that I'm evenly going 10, 10, and 10. It's like, okay, 30-minute, that's 10, 10, and 10. But knowing I'm going to spend more on the push jerk, now I have to kind of like maneuver that time breakdown a little bit. So how much did you say for the push press? You said 8, 10, and 12. That's 20, 30, right? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we got 30 minutes there. Step number 1. So that doesn't change. Like the process doesn't change. I'm still figuring out, all right, how much time do I want to allot to the workout, which is the lifts. And now I've got to plug everything in. So 10 minutes on the back end for the cool down, 10 minutes on the front end for the whiteboard and general warm up. So now that's 10 minutes. And then so 30. So now that means that I've got to start at the 20. Is that right?
You've just chopped away 50 minutes, right? So 10 at the end, 30 of the workout, 10 at the beginning. So
yep. So now that I'm doing that and I'm seeing my hour just disappear on me, like it's going away, then the first thing that I'm going to do is be like, okay, I'm pulling from the general warm up. And today is going to be one of those days where the general warm up and specific warm up are going to like merge together, and we'll likely start right away with just, maybe it's PVC pipe. Maybe it's even, maybe we do just something. All right, they're going to get on the echo bike or take a run around the building or something for 2 minutes just to kind of get the heart rate up a little bit, just to get the body moving a little bit. And then we're just going to jump right in to going through these 3 movements. And the same breakdown for my for my warm up as would be for the workout, where I'm going to spend the least amount of time on the press. That's basically prioritizing setup position, finish position, bar path, right? And just kind of getting the shoulders warmed up. Then we're going to do a little more time on the push press, and then we'll spend the most time on the push jerk. And then included in all of that has to be loading time. However, the loading time shouldn't take that long because we're only loading up for that first rep of the shoulder press, which is not going to take people that long to get to that first rep. And then boom, 30 minutes for the lifts. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%. Now here's an interesting dynamic, and like this is something that I think we've got flexibility as coaches. Well, let me ask you this.
Where's all the people in the comments with this, by the way?
Yeah.
Y'all are like, we couldn't keep up, and now all of a sudden it's like crickets. I think just because they were like, yeah, Kabo, she crushed it. I wouldn't change anything.
I may be scared them away with the bike one. They're like, I don't know about
Maybe.
that. But,
sorry,
what do you think is going to be the most challenging part of running this class for yourself as a coach or for your athletes? For the everyday general average athlete, what's going to be the most challenging part of this thing? And not like what's physically hard about the workout. What is it?
The complexity of the push jerk. Is that
it's kind of where I'm heading.
Resetting the sets of 5 on the push jerk, like doing the reset? I'm not sure.
Yeah, reset for one.
Also, I was kind of reading the comments, so I like kind of only halfway listened to what you were asking me. Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing is going to be getting your athletes to understand the difference between those 3 lifts and to be able to maintain those. Because you and I probably both know that, like, as soon as the knees start, like, it's easy to understand what the shoulder press is.
Yep.
But as soon as the knees start to bend, either they can't remember which one's which, or, oh, by the way, they start doing push presses and it gets heavy and their knees bend again. Or they get to the push jerks and it's hard for them to get back underneath the bar, right?
Yeah.
And so that leads to my question of which direction would you teach this? Would you start shoulder press, go push press, push jerk? Or would there be an option that you would start in the specific warm-up of the push jerk, go to the push press, and then finish with the shoulder press because
they're about to do the shoulder press.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. And then you are essentially finishing up with them loading right into their first working set of the shoulder press. Yeah, I like that.
I would probably go that route. And I often do that. Like, there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, it's like, I want people to finish with the movement they're about to do in the workout.
Yep.
Number two, the way that we teach the push jerk typically begins with a jump in a land and nothing in our hand. And so it's awkward to me sometimes to like do all this stuff with a bar and then be like, all right, guys, put the bar down. No, put it all the way down. Yeah, on the ground down, and then step back. And we're going to do this. So it's like, if we start there with jump and lands, like we teach the push jerk progression, and then we grab the bar and get it in our hand with the full push jerk, and then it stays in our hand for the push press, stays in our hand for our shoulder press. That, to me, logically in my brain makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it's almost like you start here, you ramp up to that first movement, shoulder press, and then you just reverse that order right back down and finish where you started. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's
go ahead.
No, I think there's some cool things here. Like I'm talking about using the PVC pipe to really warm people up. This is also a day where your general warm up after, like you said, a 400-meter run, come back in, grab a PVC pipe. I'm going to teach shoulder press, push jerk with a PVC pipe. Then we're going to put our PVC pipes away. We're going to grab our barbells, and then I'm going to teach review, push jerk, push press, and then shoulder press with the bar. And then you're going to load and lift. That could be a cool way to do it. Jess makes mention of, I think this is in reference to
what would challenging
be the most challenging thing would be resting in between sets. And tell me if you agree with this. A day like this is a lot different than like a heavy deadlift or squat day, where the rest time, especially early on with the shoulder press and even with the push press, doesn't need to be that long. Like there's not as much of a demand on your nervous system that you're like, I need 5 minutes in between that last shoulder press that I did, which was like, for me, whatever, 125 pounds. Or like, yeah, you're like, oh, I just did one at 145. Man, it was physically hard, but it's not quite.
But you're recovered. I mean,
almost
you're going to recover.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Keeping up with the faults as a coach, for sure. That's again, we're going to loop back to what we said earlier on the call. If you weren't here, herein lies the importance of having all of those points of performance memorized, knowing them like the back of your hand, because now all of a sudden, you've got a lot of different things going on, and you've got a lot of quick dynamic movements, and you're going to see different things in the push press than you are in the push jerk. So yeah, if we don't know those ahead of time, you're not going to see something that you don't know to look for usually. So yeah.
I like this one too. This would be an interesting dynamic as well, of like potentially what you do is you keep the same like 8 minutes for the shoulder press, 10 minutes for the push press, 12 minutes for the push jerk, but you essentially take your 10 minutes of specific warm-up time that you had and cut that way down and go, hey, I'm going to call it 3 minutes for my specific warm-up of the shoulder press. Cool. Here's 3 minutes of that, 8 minutes of lift time. You guys lift. Once you're finished, all right, empty the bar, take it out of the rack. Let's practice the push press. Now take 10 minutes to lift. All right, take the weight off the bar. Let's practice reps of the push jerk. Now lift there. I think that, like, if you can keep a hard timeline, that's one approach to this thing. The tough part would be that, the one or two groups or athletes that are like, it feels good, let me do one more set. That might throw you off. But if you can keep the hard lines, like everybody has to be done at the end of this 8-minute mark, I think this would work out really, really cool and help avoid the confusion that I mentioned, which is people being unsure of what movement they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, if you have your logistics dialed in on this, I think that could be a really fun way to do it. And then here we go. Here it is.
Boom. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Dude.
Gonna warm up 8 to 11 press, push, jerk. Yeah. So I wonder, so very similarly, have you taught it both ways, Todd, where you've gone press, push jerk, and then you've done it where you've gone push jerk, push press, shoulder press? So this is kind of speaking from experience, likely, where it's like, okay, how can I adjust this so that people aren't having as much trouble with the neurological components of the difference in the movements? Let me try to reverse the order. And then likely the result was like, okay, this is making more sense for people, and I'm getting ahead of and that's one of the things, if we can get ahead of a lot of the common movement faults we see if we just adjust the way that we teach it sometimes. So it's and a lot of it's just about experimenting and assessing how it went. I mean, like, okay, is there a way I could potentially do this different next time to get ahead of the common things that I was seeing going down in this workout?
Yeah.
So good stuff.
Once again, team, if you guys enjoyed this, want more of this kind of content, we've got coaches development in Affiliate University. If your affiliate is part of that, if you guys are looking to be a part of that, we also, if you're just a coach and you're looking for this kind of content, we've got it with the Knowledge and the Knowledge Pro. So make sure you guys look into that. Other than that, we've got, we'll be back on next Thursday from our standard location. We won't be in the same room with the same background.
Well, not different rooms, same background.
Same background, different room.
Weird trippiness.
Wait a second. Yep. But if you guys have any questions or any topics you want us to talk about, make sure that you drop those in the comments underneath this video or in the chat. And as always, Cabo, enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's fun. I'll see you in person soon.
Yes, very soon. All right, team. Thanks, guys.